Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. Today on the show, we have a very, very important guest who has an extensive background. I want to first and foremost say thank you for your service to him, because he's a veteran who has served in a capacity that many people don't understand, and he might share a little bit of that with us today. But not only that, he is a renowned hypnotherapist, a spiritual and personal success coach. He is a leading media expert. You may have seen him on Time, in Reader's Digest, U.S. News and World Report, Self, Cosmopolitan, Ladies' Home Journal. He is very good at what he does, and he is just amazing and very energetic. He's got a lot of information to share with us today. He is also the author of a book called The Synthesis Effect, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so for those of you who don't know what that is, he will not only share what it is, but detail how it's going to be beneficial to you. Welcome to the show, Dr. John McGrail.
Hi, Rebecca. So nice to be with you.
Sorry.
No worries.
I'm super excited to have you today. I am overjoyed at an opportunity to talk with you again, and I want to thank you so much for your service in your participation voluntarily into our industry there of soldiers and sailors, and for those who are flying. And I understand that you were in the aviation field, so if you could share with us a little bit about that, I definitely want to honor you for that.
Well, thank you very much. And let me first say that I thank you for your service in the Marine Corps. Yeah, I had this dream after college of becoming a naval aviator. And when I applied to the Navy, they didn't need pilots. It was right after the Vietnam War, and things were sort of really scaling down. And so they said, well, you can come down and go through all the training, which is quite rigorous, and ride in the backseat of the airplane and be a naval flight officer, which I would have done, but I had the eyesight required. And I said, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And then someone said, well, look at the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard, the Marine Corps, and the Navy all go through the same process. They're all naval aviators. And the more I looked into it, the more attractive it seemed, because the Coast Guard never runs out of a job. We are 365 days a year, every year, whether there's a conflict or not. The Coast Guard is on duty doing what it's supposed to do and saving lives. And it really was appealing to me. So I applied, was fortunate enough to be accepted. And yes, I had a great career as a Coast Guard and naval aviator. And as we were discussing before the show, I'm very, very proud of that part of my life. It's something that one of the greatest accomplishments that I think I've done was to not just serve, but to do it that way. And it helped me a lot in my career.
I can totally identify with you. And not only that, I can really support what you're saying in that having been a supportive component in the foundation of the future lives of those who are veterans and those who are currently serving. It is not only an honor, but it's a life changer. And that experience allows us to see something from a completely different perspective. And in your case, it has really opened your eyes, or in maybe some respects as a hypnotherapist, closed your eyes. But it's really allowed another perspective to see what people need to do to make changes in their lives, and how many different layers and different levels that is on a wide scale. And so this really has really flourished your opportunities as you've moved forward, and you still have things that you are reaching out for. But I do want to talk about your work with the synthesis effect.
Sure.
So can you tell the audience a little bit, what is that exactly?
Well, beside the title of my book, the synthesis effect is just that. It's an effect. And the synthesis itself is the name I gave to the process. But it's learning essentially how to live your life virtually free of suffering. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It is a methodology that helps people identify whatever it is that is holding them back from living the way they want to, and then go through the process of changing whatever that is, so that when they come out on the other side, they have learned to live an empowered, joyful, abundant, prosperous life. Now, that means different things to different people. Rule number one in my methodology, and the first 6 words of the book, and the first 6 words people that I work with hear from me, is life is supposed to be fun. It really is. And the synthesis effect is having found your fun, whatever that means to you. And it's different for different people, as you mentioned. But it's a very powerful process. And again, one I'm very proud of. There's nothing really new to what it is or how the synthesis process works. I think it's the way it was put together that really resonates with people. So they're living really, really well and enjoying every day to the utmost. And of course, it's never perfect, but it can be very, very close to life without suffering.
I have to tell you, when you were talking about this, I just wanted to say, there's something out there that says, life doesn't have to be as stressful as it's been, and it can be fun, and I don't need to feel so tensed up all the time. And I'm hoping that that resonates with our audience as well, because we live in this world where things for us are so stressful and so tense all the time. But the biggest challenge is, how do I move beyond that and get out of that? And I don't even know, gosh, what's fun for me? I've forgotten what fun is.
And that's very, very common. We, as a society, and I do believe this is modern Western culture. And when I say Western, I'm not really differentiating between the United States, but technology-driven culture, which is most of the civilized world today. We are so imbalanced energetically, and it's been going on for a very long time, but it's reaching a point where people are endemically stressed, upset, afraid, and angry. That is sort of the default. And the reason for that is because in Western society, we put an emphasis on the material part of the world. What do I have? I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not that enough. I'm not rich enough. What do I do for a living? What do they think of me? What am I supposed to do? And in that process, we've been doing it for about 500 years now, believe it or not. We've gotten to a point where we're so out of whack energetically that stress and anxiety are just sort of everyday conditions now. It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because 10 years ago, if you asked me, what are the kinds of cases that you're dealing with in your clinical practice, I would have said, well, it's people that want to quit smoking or lose weight, or maybe they have a fear or a phobia. And today, 90%, maybe 95% of my caseload, and the phone rings every single day, are people that are stressed and anxious. That's what I deal with. I've become a specialist in anxiety because that's what I see every single day. And it is definitely a function of our culture and society. We don't realize it, but we are bombarded every single day with information. So much now with technology that it's almost overwhelming. That in and of itself contributes to this. And most of the information we're hearing is not very pleasant. You turn on the news, and what do you hear? The gloom and the doom, and what's going wrong. And I believe, not to get too long-winded about this, but I'm passionate about how out of whack we are. Every newscaster, whether it's radio or television or online or even in the newspaper, before they start, they say, look, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're going to scare the hell out of you because that's what we're paid to do. And before we tell you about all the bad stuff that's going on in the world, please remember this one very, very important thing. Most of the people and most of the planet right this minute, including most of you out there in TV or radio land or newspaper land, are perfectly fine. So just think about that. And let's put this all into perspective, but we don't do that. And so, we watch natural disasters happening on live TV from halfway around the globe. And it's just a constant influx of negative information. And that really, really has a huge effect upon us.
I agree with you. I mean, when you're talking about the minute you turn television on or open a media source on the computer, you're being bombarded with events that are so tragic that it leaves this sense of fear in you, which is an anxiety provoking um, emotion. And you're beginning to start bringing all that in to your own world, even though the chances of something like what's being displayed on television or in the media is so remotely minimal, but we're
Yes.
taking it on firsthand as in this tragic state of being all the time. And so that fight or flight response that we are supposed to have only when an imminent danger is near so that we can react and protect ourselves is on top of the highest of high emotions at all times, because we're just allowing that in there. So my question then, Dr. McGrail, is how do we do that? Is it just turning off the TV? Is it just turning off computers just for one weekend permanently? I mean, where do we start with just information overload?
Well, yes, a very good suggestion is turn off the TV. Not every single day, of course, but I make a practice of very rarely watching the news. If it's important enough, it's going to get to you. And most of the time, as you said so very well, what's going on doesn't have a direct effect upon us. Now, that doesn't mean that we should not have empathy and compassion for people who are suffering or are in bad situations. Of course we should. But part of that never-ending bombardment of information, and we get it on our phones, we get it on our computers, we get it on our tablets, we get it on our TVs, we become desensitized to it in a way. We're put into what we could call a hypnotic trance.
Okay.
And that's what triggers that fight-flight mechanism. We go into this hyper-suggestible state. Our subconscious mind doesn't have the ability to differentiate and realize that we're really safe. And so as you mentioned, and that's exactly right, the fight-flight mechanism is being triggered in an inappropriate way. That is our survival mechanism. When it's life and death, and you really have to act. The joke I always say is if our ancestors were hunting for lunch and they were texting while they were walking along the woods, they would have become food instead of procuring it.
That's true, though.
Right? So if that animal that you're trying to catch turns the tables on you, that's what fight flight's about. Get out of Dodge and get ready to hunt another day.
Right.
But when it's every day, and we're just being inundated with it, we get literally hypnotized and we get overloaded, and it is a mild form of PTSD. PTSD that's what happens when someone literally is in life and death situation for a long period of time, and the same mechanism gets overloaded, and it's a tragic condition. And it doesn't have to be in war, but it's any time that the mind and the body are subjected to that kind of stress for too long. But even on a day-to-day basis. So yes, turn off the TV. And the other thing is establish energetic balance. Once you do that, then you can take these things in the appropriate perspective, and they don't have the same effect upon you.
Okay, so when you're talking about an energetic balance, I'm thinking I need to be barefoot and grounding outdoors, or is it something
That's
else?
a good start. It's not required, but yeah, what I mean is that you have to think of human beings as made of three streams of energy. This is the easiest way that I've found to think about it and explain it. We have our physical stream of energy, which is the energy of our body. That's like our spacesuit. We wear our body so that we can exist on Earth and feel it and sense it and experience it. Our emotional stream of energy is our identity. Okay, you're Rebecca, I'm John. That's me in this world. That's the emotional stream. We could call it the ego-related stream. And then there's the part of us that I call it the spiritual stream, because it's our essence. It is the essence of consciousness. It's what makes us alive. And this energy connects us to everything in existence, every other living creature, all of nature, all of the universe, if you want to. I don't mean to sound woo-woo, but that is really what it is. And that energy is the most important part of us, because it is the energy that if we keep it nurtured and and supported, then the emotional stream, which is like a 3-year-old child, whether we like it or not, our ego is about 3. If that stream gets out of, if that energy gets out of the playpen, so to speak, it'll find a way to get in trouble. It helps keep our physical body healthy. When those 3 streams of energies are balanced and integrated, then you have a very happy, healthy, well-adjusted human being that is usually living quite powerfully. If any or all 3 get unbalanced, and in our society, the spiritual energy stream is terribly unbalanced. And let me just add this little thing. Spirit and spirituality and religion are 2 different things. They can come together quite nicely.
Okay.
They often don't. They're meant to. But religion is different than spirituality. Spirituality is your essence, whether you have a religion or not. Whether you like it or not, you have it. And if you don't take care of it, it atrophies. And that's the most powerful part of you. And when that part of you atrophies, then the other parts will also atrophy. And that's what causes this chronic stress, this chronic anxiety, and all the negativity and fear and anger that we feel.
So it's an unseen muscle, the spiritual side, that atrophies if it's not being worked out in a healthy way. And so I was listening and I'm thinking about how there are so many areas that people have specialties in, personal training, health and nutrition, and so on and so forth. And many people are tackling those 2 areas of their life, but they're lacking the third that you've mentioned. We don't hear much about the spiritual side or religion, or we're thinking that that's a bad thing. And so we need to shy away from it because it goes back to what you said at the beginning. What do the so-and-so think? Or what is, how is that going to make me look?
Right.
But this is a muscle, an unseen muscle that needs to be worked.
It is the most important part of us, whether most people aren't aware of it. And the way I like to explain it to my workshop students or my clients, or if I'm speaking to a group, is that if you were to take your arm and put it in a sock puppet, you can probably see my arm on camera there. I can make a little creature out of this little being. He's got a personality and a voice and beep, 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 beep. Well, that much of my body fits in the sock puppet. That's about as much of our energy that fits in our body. Most of our energy is not in our body. It's out here.
Okay.
That's what we could call our spiritual energy. And it is hugely important. If you look at the indigenous peoples of the world, the tribal cultures, no matter where on the planet they are or were, there aren't too many left that still live the way that the indigenous peoples lived.
Mm-hmm.
But you will notice, and if you study their philosophy, which is part of the reason I got onto all this stuff, because I've just been sort of always curious about it, particularly Native American philosophy, those people lived very, very differently than we do. They were all about maintaining that spiritual balance, maintaining a connection with the earth, maintaining a connection with nature. And they realized that their place in the big scheme of things was just a small cog. And we, on the other hand, in Western culture, are trying to control nature, control the world, and make sure we have more. That's just the basis of how modern Western culture thinks. And that's what's causing a lot of the problems. So turn off the TV. Yeah, get out to the woods. They call it forest bathing now. It's a big new fad. Guess what?
Okay, forest bathing. That's a new term.
Forest bathing. That's where we came from, folks. These buildings, these walls around us, that's not real. That's all artificial. Our home is out there. When you spend time out there, your energy starts to balance with the energy of nature itself, which is always in perfect balance. And if you take the time to nurture your spiritual energy, and it's very, very simple. There's a little technique called meditation, which is a very scary word to so many people.
It is.
And it shouldn't be, because it's as natural as breathing. But when you put yourself into a routine where you're taking the time to meditate, and by the way, when you do that, when you develop a spiritual practice through meditation, if you do practice a religion, your religious activities and your association with that religion will be so much more enhanced than when you're not, because you become more mindful, you're more aware, you're more awake, you're more involved, you're more in tune. That's all it takes. Mm-hmm. It's so simple, and it can be so easy, but you have to change the basic way you think. And that's what the synthesis process is all about. It's to help Western thinkers like you and me, because I'm one,
Right.
And I was brought up in the Western scientific discipline. I'll believe it when I see it. That's the way we think.
Yes.
Right? And the indigenous people of the world think exactly the opposite. They believe in order to see. And ironically, modern science is proving that the way they think about the way the world works is actually the way the world works. It's kind of funny. But when you do that, it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It's an incredible gift to yourself. And suddenly your life begins to be a lot more fun.
That is so interesting because it seems like it's just such a simple step.
It is. It is simple. And I tell all my students, all my clients, everybody, if you were a client, you'd be sitting about this far from me, and I would say to you, Rebecca, now look, this is a very simple process that I'm about to show you. It can be easy or it can be hard, and that is your choice. But I promise you, it's simple. And I always ask everybody, and anybody that's listening to this and watching this today, if you decide to try this, let it be easy. I promise you it will be. Life is supposed to be fun. That's how you were born. Your natural state of being is well-being. That's how we're supposed to be, not this other stuff.
So this goes back to the whole laughter is the best medicine.
Yes.
Having fun. It's just so amazing how once we become an adult, we feel like that playground switch has been shut off and we're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yes.
Not allowed to laugh, not allowed to have fun. We have to take everything serious, and we now have to be working so hard in everything that we do that we're under pressure constantly. And so we're seeing bouts of insomnia and depression and anxiety and stress. And like you said, there's a lot of anger that's going on in the world. And then that is fueled by other things that we're seeing. It is amazing just when you think about how this is all going, in a great big circle, and one is feeding the other. And all it takes is this simple, okay, turn everything off and do some forest bathing and just get back to nature and just think and breathe and meditate. And things are going to make a difference. So if someone were going to get started on something like that, how often do you recommend? I mean, I'm going to assume that it would be as often as possible, but in the daily life that we live, most of us are on the go and battling with a million things demanding our attention right now, even though it can wait. But how would someone begin to start developing the habit of turning off and having some fun?
That's a great question, and there are many ways to answer it. But the first thing I would say is that as you just said, you make a commitment. Number one, okay, that always starts with, okay, this isn't working. I don't feel good. My life's not working the way I want it to. I'm upset or whatever, tense, stressed, anxious. Okay, I'm going to make a change. Now, the second thing is to make a commitment to do something each and every day. And, again, this term meditation it's so misunderstood and so feared in our society. And it's so really simple and easy. You can just decide that when you get up in the morning, you're going to give yourself 10 minutes, just 10 minutes before you start your day. So that if you get up at 5:30, you get up at 5:20. If you get up at 6:30, you get up at 6:20. It doesn't matter. 10 minutes to wake up and then just sit quietly and breathe. Just take breaths in and out and just get ready for your day, so that you sort of pre-program your day. I've got a big meeting I've got to go to. How do I want that meeting to go? And you kind of pre-pave it. You kind of pre-plan it. This is how I want my energy to be. Now I'm going to get stuck in traffic on the way to work, because I get stuck in traffic on the way to work every day. That's just, for me, that's living in LA. Okay, it's going to be there. I know it's going to be there. So let me just be ready for it. And then when I hit it, which I will, I'm going to be fine. In fact, instead of getting all wigged out and leaning on my horn, maybe I'll look at the sky and see if I can find a hawk today. There's that, or just look at the clouds and take 10 minutes just to pre-pave the day. Then as you're going through your day, we all have time off. There's always a few minutes where you can just sit and take a few what I call complete breaths. This is so simple. You just breathe in for 4 seconds. You breathe in and count 4. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. 4, 1,000. Then you hold it for 4 seconds. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. 4, 1,000. And then release for 4 seconds. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. 4, 1,000. You do 4 of those, it takes a minute. If you do 12 of them, it takes 3 minutes. That's not a lot of time.
No,
If
it's
you
not.
no, take 4 complete breaths a minute for 3 minutes, and when you're done, you feel like Gumby. I don't care how wigged out, tense, and stressed out you were, you will be calmer, and then you can refocus and say, okay, let me be aware, let me be present. This is not life and death. It very rarely is, folks. If it is, that warrants more energy, I admit it. But I used to tell my staff when I was in business and as an executive, I said, look, kids, if no one's on the floor bleeding out, we're not going to get wigged out about this. It's just business. It's not life and death. If it's life and death, then we'll put a little more energy into it. And it's amazing how you start incorporating this routine into your life and doing the other things, watching a little less news, getting out and away from it all. And you'd be amazed at how quickly you rebalance those energy streams. You start taking better care of your body. And if you're already taking better care of your body, you feel better emotionally because you're doing something special for yourself. And once your spiritual energy kicks in, boy, does it kick in. It's amazing. And the next thing you know, you're kind of flowing through life instead of, as you said, we're so about it's got to be hard. I got to suffer, and if I don't suffer, I'm going to get rewarded. And if I really suffer, maybe I'll have a statue erected in my honor because those are the folks that get the big statues. So I'm going to suffer. No, I don't know where we got that. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
No, it isn't. And I've got to tell you, I'm really excited about your book. And I think that the audience really needs to have an opportunity to get a hold of a copy and start making some changes, because these are simplified methods to use. And when you were talking about the breathing and I was doing it, I'm thinking about an incident that I had while I was a police officer, and we had a lady that was hyperventilating and she thought she was having a heart attack. And so I utilized that strategy of breathing, but we tend to, and it worked. Instead of breathing in a paper bag, you just breathe through your nose and out through your mouth. But what you just did in a non-stressful situation is something that says, this is a preventive strategy for you. Get in the habit of doing that, getting in the right frame of mind, and balancing all of these things is going to make your life immediately different.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it.
Preventative is a very good way of putting it. As you so well know, as a police officer or, in the military, as a pilot, most of what we do is train.
Mm-hmm.
We practice for the bad stuff that we hope never happens. And then in the unfortunate event that it does happen, and of course it does because that's what you signed up for, you stay calm, you stay focused, and you do what you're supposed to do to protect the public, to protect or save your aircraft or save lives, if whatever it is. This is a very, very powerful preventative program for maintaining health and wellness and mental stability and for thriving. It's not just about surviving. This process is about learning how to thrive, because once you practice it a little bit and you get good at it, it's not very hard. It's amazing how good you can get at it. And then all of a sudden you're manifesting things that you want, that you've been wanting, or you're starting to attract them into your energy. It's unbelievable how powerful it gets once you learn how to balance, integrate, and then manipulate your energy. Because that's all we really are, Rebecca. We're just energy.
Uh-huh.
And so if we learn how to use our energy in a powerful way, wow, the sky's the limit.
This is absolutely fantastic. And I want to thank you so much for sharing this information with the audience. And I really would like the audience to have an opportunity to get connected with you. What is the best way for them not only to get a copy of the Synthesis Effect, but how to get in contact with you?
Well, thank you. First of all, the Synthesis Effect it's had its run in stores, and until the second printing, it won't be in stores again. That's how they do it nowadays. They put them on the shelves for about 90 days, and then they take them off the shelves. But it's available on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com in both paperback and ebook. the synthesis effect. It's a hard name to say, and I've never been good at naming things, but it is an apt descriptor for the process. And you can just Google the synthesis effect on Amazon, or you can Google Dr. John McGrail if you want to find me. There are a couple of Dr. John McGrails in the country. One's a psychiatrist that I've crossed paths with in Philadelphia, but I'm the only John McGrail hypnotherapist, life coach, spiritual teacher. So you can Google Dr. John McGrail. You can go to my websites, drjohnmcgrail.com, best thing I could come up with, or hypnotherapylosangeles.com, which is more about the hypnotherapy side of my practice. And there's tons of information. My email address is there. My phone numbers are there. And I offer this. I with every show I do, and anytime I make an appearance, I say to everybody, and I'm saying this to the audience, if you have a question, an issue, and you'd like a little bit of a consult, if you call me or email me, you will get a personal response back. I don't have my people do that. And I promise that you will hear from me directly. There's never any charge involved. There's no obligation to work with me or anything like that, but I'd be happy to, listen to you and give you advice if it's appropriate, if you want it, or just hear you out. So it's easy to find me. I also have a video series on my YouTube channel, Dr. John McGrail. Again, it's my name. That's what my people said. That's what you ought to use. Okay, fine. But I have a new video series called A Better You in a Minute or Two. The name of my company is A Better You Incorporated. And every 2 weeks or so, I put out a little video. It's a few minutes long with just a little tidbit, a little technique or a little lesson or a little metaphor, something that I'm learning or have learned working with thousands of people over the years to make your life a little better. In fact, my new book is going to be entitled A Better You in a Minute or Two, because it doesn't have to be this big, huge thing. You can do it, a little bit at a time. Like that breathing exercise, a little bit of meditation, turn off the TV for, don't watch the news so much. And you'd be amazed at a little bit at a time. Or as I say, if someone told you to move a pile of bricks across the room, if you tried to pick up the whole pile of bricks, you couldn't do it. But if you take 1 or 2 bricks at a time and just keep going 1 or 2 bricks at a time, then, the bricks have been moved and you're done. Same thing with this process. It's a little bit at a time. And if people do get the book, I think you'll find that it's easy to follow. It was written so that you can understand how and why you got where you are, because a lot of people don't understand. We get messed up. We don't know why. I hear this all the time. Someone will come into my office and I'll say, okay, so what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. I'm stretching, right? And I'll go, okay, how long has that been going on? Well, forever. Oh, well, how did it start? I don't know. When did it start? I don't know. And we don't know. We don't know how we got here. How did I get so messed up? Well, the book takes us through how and why we are the way we are and how we get that way and why our mind works the way it does. And so you realize, 1, you're not alone, because most people think they're the only ones with the issue.
Yeah.
2, it's not my fault. And 3, there's a way out. Here is a way to get out of this mess, and here are the tools to use, and guess what? Here's how to use it. And then along the way, I share the stories of many, many people that I've worked with, just like you and me. We're just all regular people. I'm no guru. I had my own stuff, believe me. And part of my getting through my stuff was what launched me into helping other people do it. But I share part of my story. I was one messed up puppy in my day, not a happy camper. And so there are stories of folks, real folks, just like the people that are reading the book, just like the guy that wrote the book. Here's how they did it. And so you get encouragement while you're doing the process and reading about other people and learning how to empower your life. That's how the book is set up. And most people who do pick it up are enjoy it quite a bit. And it has been very successful. So I'm delighted about that.
I am too, and I like the steps that you're taking the reader to get through the process, because part of the battle is understanding how things work, knowing you're not alone, and then going, okay, here's a tool that I can use, and it's going to work for me like right now, and things are going to be able to change so drastically and for the better. And not only is your life affected where you're doing better and feeling better, but those around you are going to be affected by that as well in a positive way. And you're going to find that people will react to you in a healthier way as well. So I am just really excited about that. I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. And I do encourage and invite you to be back on the show. We have so many different things that we can talk about and really help people and equip them with the things that they need. I definitely want to talk about your next book. So as soon as it is available or you're getting ready to pre-launch, we definitely would like to have you back on the show. So thank you so much.
Well, Rebecca, thank you so very much. It's always a joy to work with you, and I'll come back anytime you want. All you have to do is send me that email or call me up and say, look, I need a guest, and I'm there.
Woohoo! And I want to
Okay.
thank you, the audience, for taking an opportunity to learn a little bit more about how you can make a difference in your life. It's The Synthesis Effect by Dr. John McGrail. You can find that the simplified messages that he is sharing is going to make a world of difference. So today, take a few minutes and breathe and then have some fun.